Adoption is often the unspoken option to an unexpected pregnancy. And in this case, ignorance is not bliss. Today, Christine and Joy reveal many of the facts surrounding adoption and dispel some of the myths. As a senior in high school, Christine learned she was pregnant. She decided to make an adoption plan for her baby, something less than 2% of women choose to do. Nearly 2 years after giving birth to a baby boy, Christine is talking with other teens about the option of adoption. Adoption really can impact a person's life. Tell me how it impacted yours.
It makes you a stronger person to have to go through everything that you have to go through, not only to choose adoption for a child, but especially as a high schooler, as a teenager. Less than 1% of all crisis pregnancies end with an adoption plan. As a high school student, it was very difficult to have to stand up to my classmates, my friends, administrators, teachers at my high school, and to actually have to stand up for what I believed in, to do what I knew was right, and to choose adoption. It really has radiated to every aspect of my life.
I'm curious to know what your teacher's reaction was. What did they say to you when they found out about your decision?
The one teacher that sticks out in my mind the most, and I don't think I'll ever forget this day, I can tell you exactly what I was wearing. I can tell you the Coke machine that I was standing next to in the gym lobby of my high school when one of my teachers, one of my former teachers, was walking through the hallway. The whole senior class was getting ready to go down to TPAC to watch a play. So we're all standing there waiting for the bus, and he walks through, and apparently he didn't know that I was pregnant because I hadn't seen him. He was a former teacher. And so my former teacher walks through the gym lobby, and he sees me and he says, "Christine, what's Christine?" And so I said, "Yeah, you know, I'm pregnant." And I said, "But it's okay because I'm going to choose adoption, and I've chosen a wonderful couple that I'm going to choose to be the parent to this little boy." And he just kind of looked at me, and he looked kind of puzzled, and he said, "Christine, how could you give away your baby? No one will ever love him as much as you because you're his real mom." And I got on the bus to ride down to TPAC and bawled my eyes out the entire way.
Because of the words that were said, Christine doubted her adoption decision. Now she makes it a point to talk about the impact words can have on a pregnant teen.
If you look at the handout I gave a few moments ago, it says positive adoption language on the top. I do feel very, very strongly about this sheet of paper.
Probably one of the hardest things for me during my pregnancy was the comments. One of the things that we do in the high school presentations is positive adoption language, and why it's so hurtful to use words like keep the baby or put the baby up for adoption. And I really just couldn't understand how some of these people that I had known for years, some of my good friends, my classmates, really thought that I didn't love this baby. And they could look at me and ask me questions like, "Christine, why don't you want this baby? Why don't you love this baby? I don't understand." And I couldn't understand why they thought that. I loved this child enough to go through 9 months of pregnancy for him. I loved him enough to give birth to him, to bring him into this world. I loved him enough to choose 2 wonderful parents for him, and it just didn't make sense to me that these people didn't understand what a beautiful thing adoption was. And it was so hard to have to go through that, to have to hear the comments and to have to hear the words and to have to know that people that I respected and admired really thought that I was a bad person for choosing adoption.
I did not choose adoption because I didn't love Jacob, because I didn't want him. I chose adoption because I loved that little boy so much. And I made the hardest decision that I have ever had to make in my 20 years on this earth, and that is to put his needs before my own.
When Christine was a sophomore in high school, she sat in a presentation similar to this. She remembers Joy Wassel talking about the option of adoption and the negative impact words can play in a woman's decision. Today, Joy and Christine speak together. Joy, why did you decide to tell others about adoption?
You know, after becoming an adoptive mother, I did not realize that most people don't have the correct image of adoption. For instance, when my son was 6 weeks old, I realized that people in my own family did not understand the correct image of adoption. When a relative of mine was holding my son, and he was an infant, and she looked at him and said, "I just don't understand how anybody could give away this precious baby." And that broke my heart that day. And I realized that we just don't understand the true nature of adoption, that adoption is not about giving babies away. It's about young women who make very difficult decisions in crisis pregnancies.
Well, it seems like in society today that women are taught or led to believe that it's better to abort your unborn child than it is to make an adoption plan.
I would agree with that. From the high school students that we've spoken to over the past 6.5 years, I would definitely say that when I ask the students, why do you think so few teenage girls choose adoption? Most of them will say, because they don't want to go through the 9 months of pregnancy. If you know someone who became pregnant during their teen years, raise your hand. That's pretty much the way it is wherever Christine and I go into high schools and talk about teen pregnancy. Because unfortunately, we have in the United States the highest teen pregnancy rate in the world. There are over 764,000 teenage girls a year in the United States that become pregnant.
Coming up, a few high school students give us their opinions about adoption.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
Joy and her husband were one of the 2 million couples waiting to adopt a child. In 1999, they were chosen by a birth mother to be Jacob's parents. Because of her close connection to adoption, Joy is passionate about sharing the positive impact birth mothers can have on society. What does the average high school student think about adoption?
The average high school student sees adoption as a very negative thing. How could you give away a baby? Why don't you love your baby? No one does that anymore. I don't know anyone who's done that. It's very difficult, and I don't think I can do that.
After listening to Joy and Christine's presentation, I asked some of the students